Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So today's video, I want to get into replacing the tires on my 2018 Harley-Davidson Heritage 114. So why would I take on doing this myself? To be totally honest with you, I, like you guys, I watch YouTube videos. So I looked up how to do this on YouTube, and I did watch this video from Ari Henning of Motorcycle Magazine. He did a tire change in the shop. I watched it and I said, doesn't look too hard. I'll give it a shot. Now, before I get into whether this was something that was worth it financially or not, anytime I take on a task like this or a project like this, I always try to weigh out the pros and cons of, well, if I do it myself, it might cost me a little bit more to acquire a bunch of the tools, but then I have the tools going forward, versus if I take it to a shop, it's going to cost me maybe a little bit less the first time, but I'm not really going to have any tools or anything. I'm not going to gain anything out of that. Now, for all of the tools that I acquired to do this process, none of them are sponsored. This is all stuff that I bought in order to do this project and other projects down the road. So the first things first, and really kind of what set me off to really kind of head down the path of doing this project was I wanted to have a motorcycle lift, an actual jack in my garage for projects going forward. And I started looking at the Harbor Freight jacks, and I saw that aluminum floor jack, and I went and looked at it, and I thought, you know, for like $130 some odd after coupons, that was kind of where I started this whole journey of I'm going to do my tires myself. And this is where I guess things went off the rails. But either way, that was one of the biggest tools that I really wanted to pick up and what got me going down this path. So the Harbor Freight jack was awesome. It kept the bike elevated for 10 days. It didn't go anywhere, really. It actually has a real nice built-in safety mechanism, so the bike, it really can't, it can't bleed down, which is really nice. If you guys want more of an in-depth review of that jack, let me know. I might get into it later. If it's something you guys are looking for, let me know in the comments down below. Now, some of the other tools that I had to buy that are more or less like one-off tools that you don't really get a whole lot of benefit to owning unless you're going to do stuff like this quite a bit. I bought the BikeMaster wheel balancing stand, which you can see back here. I bought a Posse axle wrench. And that was a really good tool and was necessary. And then a socket, I forgot the size, for the front axle, which is a larger Allen socket. And then I also had to get the bead breakers for the tires. Those bead breakers actually worked really well. It's just it's a bear to get these tires off the rims. So to get into the process of actually doing this project, I kind of approached it thinking that I was intimidated by taking the rear axle off and the front axle and pulling apart the bike. And then I figured that once I got into the tires and all that stuff, that it was just going to be physical labor, but go kind of quick and be the easiest part of the entire project. Boy, was I ever wrong. It was totally opposite. Getting both of the wheels off was done probably in an hour. It was really simple. So after I pulled the wheels off, it took me, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, but it took hours to get that first tire, to get the tire totally off. You know, breaking the first bead was new to me. I've never done it before. It was cumbersome. It was frustrating. It was just, it was brutal. And again, it took me a couple hours to get that first tire off of that wheel. And, you know, by the time I was done with that, I was like, all right, Friday is, I'm done with it for now. And I didn't really get into actually getting into the second tire till like late Saturday night. So I actually broke that bead, got that tire removed and everything pretty quickly. It was probably a half an hour I was able to pull that one off as opposed to the couple hours on the first one. So you definitely do get better with this as you go. But it is not easy. It's a lot of just back braking leverage and just constantly making sure that you're not getting a tire iron to the face. But I didn't have anything like that. It worked out pretty well. So after I got the tires removed, it was time to jump into getting the new tires or the new tubes and everything onto the wheels. Now, where I screwed up on the first one was this was late Saturday night. I had started putting the tube in, and I never really thought about the talcum powder or anything. I just kind of started pushing through it. Skipped that step. Don't do it. It just, trust me, the talcum powder makes your life a million times easier. And I went ahead and got the tire over the rim, which you want to get one bead over, and then get your tube inserted. And then at that point, what you should do, which I didn't do, was inflate it just a little bit to get the tube to, if there's any twists or kinks or anything, it'll kind of straighten it out. You can feel around and make sure that it's seated properly. And I didn't do that. So I basically just got the whole thing together and then pulled that second bead up over the rim and went to inflate it. It held no pressure. This was late Saturday night. I was over it. Just at that point, it was like, all right, enough's enough. I'm going to bed. And I got in to Sunday. I actually ran over to Scottsdale. Harley is not the closest to me, so I ran over. There's another dealership closer. So I ran over, grabbed the tube. Once I got home, I trucked right through it. It was pretty easy with a lot of labor. And, comparatively to the last few days, it was kind of easy at that point. Got it all in there. That talcum powder made a world of difference. It really made the project go that much smoother. Got the tubes in there, got them inflated. I had a little bit of a nightmare getting the beads to actually seat, but with a little bit of convincing, I was able to get the beads to seat. After that process, got into balancing. The balancing is actually pretty simple. It's with this balancing stand, and again, I'm not going to get super crazy into that. The Motorcycle Magazine video that I mentioned earlier on in this video goes over that really, really good. Now, truing the wheel, I was kind of lucky. My wheels have stayed pretty true at 10,000 miles at this point. So after that was all done, I put the tires back on the bike. On the front of the bike, these Heritages have this like fake drum cover, which is like a throwback to the old drum brakes on the old Heritages or old Harleys. And I never really liked it on the bike to begin with, so I removed that. I do not own a set of lock ring pliers, which on that little drum there is basically the spacer is in there for the front axle that you need to remove that. So instead of running to the store and buying those pliers that I'll probably never use again, I just took my grinder to that lock ring because I can get another one of those in the future if I decided to put that back on. It was easy enough. I just zipped that off and got that spacer off. Put the whole thing back together, and putting it all together was really simple. I'm not a mechanic by no means. Do I recommend anybody would go out and do a project like this themselves? Probably not, unless you're like me and ready to just kind of beat your head against the wall for a week and do it in the name of gaining some tools in the process. I don't want to say it wasn't horrible, because it was horrible, but I also wouldn't say I wouldn't do it again. I don't recommend it, because I would hate to recommend it to somebody and have them say like, well, your video told me that it was going to be easy, because it's not. But there's a reason why these mechanics make the money they make, because they are incredibly qualified and really know what they're doing. All of the things that I did wrong, they did wrong years ago, and they know all the shortcuts, and it's, you pay for that. That has a value to it, certainly does. So all in, what was my grand total? What was the pain point here as far as the wallet was concerned? I spent $412.11 in parts. That was for the tires, tubes, rim strips, all that. And then I bought $471.45 in tools. So my grand total for this whole project was $883.56. That is not cheap. But again, I gained $400 or almost $500 worth of tools that I can use going forward. So that's pretty great. Now the quotes that I got, which I called around after the fact, ultimately I got quotes for $630. So I'm upside down $253, I guess you'd say. I could have done this $253 cheaper, but I wouldn't have gained all of the tools. Was it worth it? Probably not. It's just one of those things. If you want to wrench on your own things, one thing that does have value in all of the frustration, all of the nightmare, and all of the just wondering, why did I do this to myself? You gain an appreciation for the whole machine in itself. When you start taking it apart, you learn things. And I'm a sucker for that. I enjoy, as much as the days afterward, like your back is killing you, like you don't have any of the right stuff and you're going crazy. Your family's looking at you in the garage like you're a lunatic and you're just absolutely frustrated. But again, it's just part of being, I guess, a guy that's just into gears and gadgets. I like tinkering with things, and I just feel like there's a lot to be learned with that. I personally feel like a lot of people out there are losing the ability and skill to do things themselves, and I think a small part of me like fears that I would lose touch with that. And I don't know, I value being able to do those things. So I don't recommend it for the average guy. I recommend it to a hardhead like myself. I mean, it's not something that's like rocket science. Definitely follow the Harley-Davidson manuals, all the specs. Make sure your torque specs are, everything is where it needs to be, because your life depends on it. So guys, with that being said, that was my take on doing tires yourself. I did it. It sucked. I might do it again. I don't know. Maybe I won't. So if this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.